I'd like to call this City of Shelton Commission study session to order. Seems to be got a little feedback on the mics almost. I don't know, but it seemed to be a little louder than normal. And we got a busy program today, so I'd like to welcome everybody here. First item I'd like to tell you is that we're making an amendment to the action agenda. We're adding another item. It will be item number 7, and that will be presented to us by our Public Works Director Craig Gregory. No, it'll be presented by somebody else.
Logan Brady, Associate Engineer.
Our Associate Engineer, Logan Brady, is going to bring forward an item concerning some emergency with some pumps we have, and that will be number 7 on the action agenda. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
First item is item number B, and what's going to happen is we're going to have a reading of an Arbor Day proclamation, and then we're going to have a few words, I believe. If Mark Ziegler is in the room or coming to the room, he may add some things to this. So if he shows up, he will add those things. So
there, he's hiding.
Is he back there? Oh gosh, he's way back
He's
there.
waving. He's saying, here I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Commissioner Moore is going to read this proclamation.
Okay, once again, it is Arbor Day coming up. And this is a City of Shelton proclamation, whereas trees and forest products have played a vital role in the history of Shelton, and whereas the presence of trees throughout the city contributes to the natural beauty and livability of the community as a whole, and whereas the celebration of Arbor Day is a long-standing tradition for cities that wish to display their support of trees in the community. Now, therefore, the Shelton City Commission does hereby proclaim April 28th, 2017, Arbor Day in the City of Shelton, and urges all citizens to continue to recognize the importance of trees in our community and express this through the recognition and celebration of Arbor Day.
All
right, just to add a little more information to Commissioner Moore, Tree City USA is the kind of the authority for recognizing us for our Arbor Day celebration, and as a Tree City USA, part of the standards that the city has to meet is having a community tree ordinance on record and meeting at least a $2 per capita investment into our community trees. So that's anything from pruning and limbing and maintenance to cleaning up after them, planting new trees, maybe removal of dangerous trees, because that's obviously part of our tree maintenance program as well. And then the Arbor Day proclamation itself, and we have a new flag that Tree City USA sent off to.
Yay. Yay, Arbor Day. Hey, Mark, when you say per capita, is that per 10,000?
No,
So
$2 per
person,
resident.
per resident, so.
He's trying to get a picture, man.
I want to be able to read it. There it is. Perfect.
So we have to spend 20,000, because we have a 10,000
We do,
population.
yeah,
so
absolutely.
we need to spend at least 20,000 a year
and
on.
we do that through our normal maintenance.
Yeah.
So we have park staff, we have public works staff, so they're out limbing trees, they're providing pruning on the street trees that we have up and down our corridors. They're managing our watershed property, which has obviously a lot of trees in as well.
Right.
The trees within our park. So
Okay.
we're able to do that within our normal budget. We replace some trees on time to time, as well as we receive some donations,
Yep.
some trees and things like that too.
Yeah,
So,
very cool.
and speaking of that, some trees were given out by Green Diamond Resource Company this last weekend in honor of Arbor Day as well. So
You
a
have
lot
a place for 'em?
of fir trees were given out at the event this last Saturday.
Oh, they gave them out.
Yeah,
to the
as
residents.
part
Okay.
of combining the celebration, and so much focus of the Earth Day celebration was on forestry, Green Diamond was kind enough to donate seedlings, really good-sized seedlings, to those who wanted to take them home and plant them as part of the Earth Day celebration. And also, I would add that our recent partnership with the Conservation District will also help us as we're moving forward to maintain our trees and plant new trees and keep Shelton as a tree city
For the fourth year now.
for the
In a row.
fourth year.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
Very good.
All right, is that
Thank
all you have
Thank
to tell
Commissioners.
us?
That's it for me.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Next, I will turn to our pro tem city assistant manager. Our manager, Ryan Wheaton's out for the week, so I'll ask her a question. Should we have somebody come and speak about this next item first? I believe there's somebody that wants to talk first, and then we would kind of talk about this, or should we?
We have somebody.
Yeah, well, Abe Gardner's here, and this next thing is something that I think he is involved in. So you want to come forward and talk a little bit about this? We've already signed a support letter for this, but I think while you're here, if you want to say a few words about what we've just signed.
Yeah, you betcha. Right now I'm working on the opiate overdose prevention program with the county. Working to get naloxone into the community, educating the community, and connecting opiate overdose survivors to treatment options. This particular grant that you guys are helping us support will not only continue what we're doing, but expand the particular program, hopefully for the next 3 years. And work more on communicating through the different entities within the county, helping to reduce crime, as well as expanding treatment options for people that are affected by opiate misuse and abuse.
Absolutely, and we are, I believe, very much in support of helping get this grant. Has the grant already been gotten?
It has not. We're
Okay.
sending out the application here in the next
All right.
2 days.
Well, I commend you for your work in the community on what you're doing, and the city can say that we concur with any way that we can help in this really crucial issue.
Fantastic.
All
Thank you so
right.
much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gardner.
Thank you very much.
and we-
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We've already signed the letter, and so this is letter support for you to get a grant.
Fantastic.
And we're going to read this into the record now. So who would like to read this into the record? Corey would? Thank you, Corey, for volunteering.
Dear U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice, we are writing in to express our collective support of the comprehensive opioid abuse site-based program grant proposal submitted by Mason County Public Health. Our community is actively working to improve collaboration and strategic design-making of regulatory and law enforcement agencies and public health officials to address prescription drug and opioid misuse, to save lives and reduce crime. We support building relationships and implementing strategies to align current efforts with future opioid abuse-related community needs. It is apparent that our community is in need of the proposed comprehensive opioid abuse site-based program. There are many who would directly benefit from the treatment options and support services that would be available through the allocation of a grant from the Department of Justice. Additional opioid abuse, overdose prevention, and community outreach initiatives are critical to safeguarding future generations and connecting survivors of non-fatal overdoses with the professional services they need. We appreciate the efforts of Mason County Public Health in finding solutions to an epidemic that has so greatly impacted our community. Sincerely, Mayor Gary Krantz, Commissioner Kathy McDowell, and Commissioner Tracy Moore.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Very good. I hope we get that grant for you, okay?
We do as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is our weekly commission reports. And Commissioner Moore, did you have some activities this week?
Yes. First of all, I would like to start with a brief report of the March for Science and the Earth Day celebration. It's been a number of years since we have had that in Shelton, and it was an amazing, amazing turnout for a first-year celebration. Hopefully, it will continue. But we had maybe 100 people marching, and then there were more people at the transit center to see the program, see the displays. The city of Shelton had a display there. There were a number of different groups represented. PUD was there, the hospital, the science science projects from the science fair were fascinating, and there were others that I'm just not remembering right now. As I mentioned, Green Diamond donated a number of seedlings that we were able to pass out there. There were foresters on hand to answer questions, and on the parade route itself, the rain held off, and there were several foresters talking about some of our most significant big sequoias in town. And then we had a group from the Peninsular Railway and Lumbermen's Museum give an explanation and a short educational talk on steam engines and how they work. And as the focus is STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, it fit in beautifully with the theme. So it was a great event, and I'm very, very happy that we participated in that. It was great. So anyway, that was Saturday. Today, this morning, I had a meeting with Dick Taylor, Port Commissioner. I'll be meeting with Christy Beck on Wednesday. Thursday, briefing with Vicki. On Friday, I will be celebrating Arbor Day as well as the Peninsula Regional Transportation Planning Organization meeting. And on Sunday, I will be attending the Neighbors for Immigrant Rights March, which will begin at Loop Field, and I'm not sure of the route, but it will go through downtown Shelton. So I've been honored to have been asked to speak at that, so it will be my first time speaking with an interpreter, so we'll see. I'll have to talk slowly, I think. But that is my week.
Thank you very much. Commissioner McDowell?
Well, I have a very quiet week compared to last week. I felt like I was in a whirlpool last week, but anyway, that's a good thing. This week's a little... I want to give a report on last Wednesday night. I went down to Tenino, the big city of Tenino. I actually got lost trying to find my way around that city, but anyway, I got to my place. The AWC, which is the Association of Washington Cities, have a small city tour where the smaller cities under 10,000 people get together, and it's in different areas, so you can choose where you want to go. And we talked about the things the cities are facing: sewer, water, same things we face here. I was at the end of a table, and so they started and went around, came to me. I was basically the last person, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to do doom and gloom for our city. I'm going to do all the upbeat things that have been going on. And I just read off a list, and when I was done, I was the only one got a clap, an ovation, for the positive things that's going on in our city. And people, a lot of the mayors and commissioners and council people were very, very impressed with how the city is moving forward. And we've been in a rut for quite a few years, but we're coming out of it. So I just wanted to let you know that that went very well. This week, I just have my briefing with Vicki. That's it, on Thursday.
All right. And this is the end of the month. Usually our last weeks, we don't have a lot of meetings during this week. But I will be having a special hotel motel tax board meeting on Thursday and a staff briefing. And then this Saturday, I'm planning to attend an event out at Mason Lake called Spring Showers. And so hopefully the event's name will not be a reflection on the reality of what would be happening, because it's much nicer to walk around on non-soggy ground when you're having a picnic type event. So that concludes our weekly commission reports. Next item on the agenda is a general public comment period. We have cards that you fill out, and so we'll turn to Assistant Manager Vicki Look and see if there's somebody signed up to talk.
We do. Randy Lewis.
Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Mike Situance. I just want to mention I attended the march, and if anyone doesn't know, I'm sure there aren't, but there are some very cool trees around the city, and I knew this, but I didn't know the background. That was very cool. And there's a map I got, and afterwards I drove around, and there's some very cool trees. And actually, I'd already noticed a couple weeks ago the trees along the road had bloomed. I took a picture. That's pretty cool. What I really wanted to talk about, I just wanted to mention Saturday is the 57th annual Shelton Invitational. So they're going to have literally the best athletes and high school athletes in the state. So if you want to see some amazing kids do their thing, coming up Saturday. I'm not sure what the cause is. There used to be scholarships for guys that wanted to go into, or actually kids that wanted to go to college and learn how to be coaches. But anyway, if you want to see amazing athletes, then it's a lot cheaper than a Seahawk game. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person is Henry Buchanan.
I was supposed to ask you to state your name for the record, if you could.
Henry Buchanan.
Thank you.
The only question I want to ask you is, well, first of all, I just came back to Shelton. I was born here many, many years ago, and I just came back. And I can't believe you people are eliminating a traffic light. I came from Auburn. I was up there for over 50 years. And you had to have traffic lights up there. And you people are eliminating a good light as far as I'm concerned. And you're making a lot of changes to the roads, which is neither here nor there, but I'm just kind of waiting to see what you do with especially Railroad Avenue. It looks to me like it's one of the best streets you have in the town, and as far as I'm concerned, you're messing it up royally. That's all I got to say.
Thank you for your comments.
Marilyn Vogler.
Marilyn Vogler, 420 East Poplar. I talked to you a while back about my water bill and proposed that we needed a rate that covered basic health and sanitation, and I hope you haven't forgotten that. I want to talk about another water bill I got, because a couple of months ago, I got a bill for about $80-some. Absolutely zero usage, and I thought, well, I'm really frugal with my water, but I know I flush the toilet at least once. And so I called in. It turned out my meter had died, had recorded no usage for the month. I was charged $10.60 for water, $44.50 for sewer, and $12.10 for storm sewer, which was fine. I also was charged for garbage, and I had garbage picked up. But these three fees are obviously not usage-based. I had used no water. That means to me that they are system fees. They are fees that we pay to keep the system operating. We have a number of vacant houses in Shelton and seasonal use houses. And when a person has the water turned off in a building, they're not billed even these system fees. They don't pay for the things that keep the system running. Of course, they're not using anything, but they don't pay the system fees. They should, because even if my water is turned off, the loans we have continue to accrue interest. The people that maintain the system have to be paid. Maintenance has to be done. The storm sewers have to be cleaned and emptied, whether I'm using water in my home or not. And so what I'm asking today is that as you work on this water study and come up with a rate system that's more fair, please charge every building in town every month these system fees to keep our system operating, whether they are using water, whether they have it turned off, turned on, or not. Because without these fees, our system will chug to a stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patricia Van Day, 111 South Lupin Place, Shelton. I'm going to remark on something that Stacy is going to have more information on. I'm just showing my support on this. It's an organization or a group that calls itself Elevate Mason County. It's a grassroots local community organization dedicated to support and work for the betterment of the lives of all its citizens, whatever their gender, origins, material assets, or lack thereof. It respects all the rights inherent to our human status and the laws governing the lives of all of us in its community. It promotes an educated, compassionate, protective relationship with all who live in it and wish to reside in the community without fear of unjust threats to their well-being. I therefore earnestly request the acknowledgement and support of this organization and its concepts for the good of all the citizens of Shelton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stacy Gillison.
Hi, I'm Stacy Gilkson, and I am a Shelton resident. I'm just going to read, so I don't have to think too much. I'm here to introduce you to Elevate Mason County, which is a newly organized community action group. We're very excited to announce our first official event, the Neighbors for Immigrant Rights March. We held this Sunday, April 30th. This march is an opportunity for the community to come together in expression of solidarity with our friends, our family, and our neighbors, with the goal of celebrating everyone who now lives and works in Mason County, many of whom, be it recently or generations ago, immigrated here and are now a vital part of our community. Elevate Mason County arose out of desire to effect positive change in the local community, particularly on behalf of marginalized and/or at-risk people. The name denotes the idea that a community can only exceed if everyone is lifted up, irrespective of race, color, creed, or circumstance. The word elevate can be applied to nearly any issue that needs attention, support, protection, or change. This can include poverty, hunger, jobs, education, healthcare, etc. Much of the focus right now is going toward immigrant protections and solidarity work. As a group, we felt that this was an area of concern and currently the strongest pull to action. Our hope is to continue building a foundation upon which we can grow and sustain a long-term local presence. We work to make Mason County a sanctuary for all people who call this community home, to feel safe, welcome, and hopeful for the future. Members of Elevate have been working in depth with the local immigrant community, many of whom view the march as an important demonstration of support. Quote, "So we know that we are not alone, we are together, we are united, and we are assets to the community." Also reminding us, quote, "We have roots in this community. We have kids and grandkids here. We are part of the solution," end quote. The Neighbors for Immigrant Rights March will be gathering at 2:30 at Loop Field to proceed peacefully through downtown Shelton, ending at Neyland Park. So on behalf of Elevate, I would like to extend a welcome to you, the commissioners, and the public in general, to join us for this family-friendly event, and we encourage those interested to bring only signs of support and peace. Everyone can find more information on our Facebook page, Elevate Mason County, and again, it's this Sunday, 2:30 at Loop Field. Thank you for your time, and I hope I see everybody there. And I have a copy to enter into the record.
Thank you.
John Hanson.
Oh, you can give it to us now.
Oops, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my name is John Hanson. You need an address? I'm not very good at these things.
No, just a name for the
Name will
record.
work.
I think.
All right. So what I gave you is, I don't know if you guys are familiar, obviously it's been raining a little bit this year. We've exceeded almost every limit in historical value for total rainfall, but we got some other issues that have come up. And our current trend since 2005, when most of the studies were done, our water quality, even though it's maintained a steady source for Oakland Bay and Hammersley Inlet, that's all it's done. It's maintained steady course. But its trend is decreasing annually. And during the heavier rain events, it's actually caused now, we got to shut down for 3 miles of our water that's been shut down for about 2.5 months, which has cost a lot of money and a lot of jobs. And it's basically all due to fecal and what gets carried in it. So the state has, right now your permit, whether you're aware of it or not, is up in the process of getting reviewed next by the EPA. I talked to them quite a bit earlier in the week. I've been talking to the Department of Health a lot. They've been doing studies and surveys of all the beaches in Hammersley Inlet. They've surveyed 58 local parcels for septic system issues. In the paperwork there, you'll see they got 13 that they're working on. None of them are failures. Nothing is indicating a solid, this is a failure that caused norovirus to get in. The documentation that I gave you right now will indicate that norovirus could come from someone in the marina. Could come from anywhere. We can't control everything. What we can control, though, is the outflow of the wastewater treatment plant. And by law, it's required to eliminate discharge into our waterway. But what we're doing right now is increasing our volumes. The whole principles of the permit from the EPA shows that the discharge of pollutants is not a right. It's required that you're supposed to be able to keep this wastewater discharge to a minimum and then reduce it. All effluent limits are set using technology-based and/or water quality-based standards. These are things that are supposed to be getting used. And right now, the trend is the situation is getting worse. What's being done, albeit you guys put a lot of money in a few years back, won a lot of awards for the treatment plant that exists, but it's not keeping up with what the community's doing. Hammersley Inlet and Oakland Bay is a fixed base of water. It can only handle so much discharge. I don't know how, nobody will give me a straight answer as to how many new septic systems are on it, as far as, you know, what's gone in there since 2005. So that's in a gray area itself, but the treatment plant is definitely putting in more effluent. Starting in January, I got a copy of one of the pages in there for you guys that you guys are accepting another 1.5 million tons a year.
That's your
Oh.
time. You can complete your last sentence.
You're accepting another 1.5 million gallons. Not everything that's supposed to be getting done is getting done, and we could be getting norovirus, shutting down half of Hammersley from the treatment
We
plant.
appreciate your comments.
I could give you some suggestions on how we could work together to make it better.
If you come back to the next commission meeting, and we'd love to talk to you about that, and you can talk to our staff during the week, I think 9 to 5. Thank you. Well, did you want 4 minutes, or 5 minutes, or 6 minutes?
4 minutes would be great.
Well, anyway, we do appreciate your comments, and you're welcome to come back anytime. Anybody else?
Not for general.
That completes our general public comment. And now we are ready to read the consent agenda, I believe. Are we ready to read that?
Yes.
Please, could we have a reading of the consent agenda?
Consent agenda, vouchers numbered 3581 through 3711 and 14112 through 14135 in the amount of $653,100.08.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
And I second it.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Opposed? The agenda passes. Thank you. All right, we have a lot of items on the action agenda. The first item, and all of these can have public comment on them, and this would be an opportunity for someone to speak again in this meeting. And so the first item is our senior planner, Jason Doe.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Last week at your April 17th meeting, we held a public hearing to consider the annexation of about 72 acres of land in water and tidelands in Oakland Bay and along Eagle Point. You did the first reading on the ordinance, and what I'm requesting today is the second reading and adoption of it. I guess as a quick overview, as I stated last week, and this isn't in the staff report, as we were doing our Shoreline Master Program update in 2009-ish, 2010, Port of Shelton was working with us on developing the regulations, and we discovered that a portion of the marina is split jurisdictionally between Mason County and the city. So the port, DNR, and now the city have signed on to an application to annex these territories into city limits. And if you have any questions, I'd be
Well,
more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, this is open for public comment at this time. This is our second reading, so we've been through this a couple of meetings. If anybody from the public would like to speak about this specific issue, now is the opportunity. Hearing none, do we have any further comments concerning this?
No further comments.
None.
None from me either. So at this point, I would request staff for a second reading of ordinance number 1898-0417 for the commission to approve this ordinance.
Ordinance number 1898-0417, second reading. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Shelton, Washington, annexing certain property and tidelands located within Oakland Bay and an area known as Eagle Point into the City of Shelton.
Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
I will move to approve this ordinance, number 1898-0417.
I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ordinance passes. Next is the second part of this, which is two parts, and that will begin presented to us by our senior planner, Jason Phillips.
Thank you again. So related to the same proposal, when we annex a territory, being as all of this is within what's considered shoreline jurisdiction, we also need to designate shoreline environment designations for these parcels. And what we brought before you last week and you held a public hearing on was extending the harbor designations into the areas in the harbor and at the marina, but actually designating the areas in and around Eagle Point as conservancy because of the habitat values that are there, quite honestly. So we're asking for the second reading and adoption of those environment designations.
So this is also an action item, so it's open to public comment. If anybody from the public would like to speak about this specific ordinance, now would be the opportunity. Seeing no one coming forward, do we have any other further comments or questions about this?
Nope.
None.
Okay, so at this point, what I'd like to do is request staff for a second reading of this ordinance.
Ordinance number 1899-0417, an ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington relating to land use, amending the City of Shelton Shoreline Master Program.
So is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
I will make a motion to approve the ordinance 1899-0417.
I second that motion.
So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? This ordinance is approved. Item number 3 is going to be presented to us by Craig Gregory, and this is involving a latecomers agreement.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Last week, we briefed on the Washington State Patrol Latecomers Agreement, gave you some information on what that consisted of, and let you know that that would provide a connection to the water system and a disconnect of their well, which provides us the ability to meet qualifications for the loan forgiveness that we originally had for the Upper Mountain View pressure zone.
I have a question. Is that okay to ask a
Yeah,
question?
absolutely.
Okay. Here, we had talked about a 2 million and now it's a 1.5 million. How did that change and why?
It is a percentage of the total amount of the loan used. Originally, the loan amount was a little over 9 million. We've used about 6 of that, and we don't anticipate using any more of that funding source. So it is a percentage that works out to about 1.5 million
Okay.
out of the 6 million that we originally borrowed from them.
Okay. What's the percentage?
I will have to look into that and get back to you, Kathy.
Yeah, you can get back to me.
I believe it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 23%.
Okay,
But
You
I
can
can
get
certainly
back to me later.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
certainly get the number and get back to you.
okay.
This is a action item which involves the opportunity for the public to weigh in on this specific item. If there's anyone here today that would like to talk about this, this would be your opportunity. Seeing nobody stepping forward, yes.
Randy.
Randy wants to step forward and talk about this. And please state your name for the record, and it's not whatever you used last time.
Randy Lewis. Just wondering, I don't know a lot of the details on this, but I'm hearing the words loan forgiveness. I'm just wondering what's the background behind forgiving the loan, and is there any incentive the city is giving whoever's making this loan forgiveness that's incenting them to forgive this loan? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else in the public want to comment on this specific issue? Seeing no one else,
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just letting
you
you know Craig is there.
can comment about it if you want.
Oh, no, I was just letting you know that Craig was standing up.
Yeah, he's always
Okay, yeah, okay.
ready and able to jump up, so.
Okay.
I've got quite a few in a row.
This is our second or third or fourth round with this, and at this point, if we have no more further questions or comments, what I would do is request a motion to this latecomers agreement, and I would be happy to sign.
I move to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the Washington State Patrol Latecomers Agreement.
I second that.
So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That base motion has passed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 4. Again, this will be our Public Works Director, Craig Gregory, addressing us concerning our Railroad Avenue Road Diet. And in your presentation, before you do it, as far as education on why we do things that we do, because not everybody attends every one of these meetings, do you want to give a brief history of the past 3 years that we have been working on the road diet experience, and just basically touch upon the public involvement process and where we, you know what I'm saying? Could you kind of do that?
Sure.
Is that okay?
So a couple years ago, a community-led downtown visioning group was formed to take a look at all of downtown, but mainly Railroad Avenue. And they have been meeting on a monthly basis for quite some time, over a couple of years now. And they got a grant and also some city funds that went towards a design of not a design, a concept of what Railroad Avenue would look like in the future. The city has had involvement with that. Commissioner Moore sits in on that, and also staff to give input, but it was mainly community-led. And since then, over the last 6 months, that committee has stopped meeting and have left most of the design and planning up to city staff. But most recently, through this expansion of the road diet, we have gotten them back together to get their input. And with that, we had the failure of the 4th and Railroad traffic signal, which played a vital role in decisions that are being made today for what to do with that intersection. Originally, it was proposed to put a traffic dot that doesn't look at this point, at least in my opinion and current staff's opinion, that would have worked. So with that, it was either paying to rebuild that traffic signal and the cabinet, But when we looked at that and had a traffic study done by a traffic engineer,
Right, just, so we hired then a traffic engineer to study that light, and what did they recommend?
he not only studied that light, but most of the railroad corridor, at least from 3rd to 5th, and made his recommendations, and his recommendations was to remove the traffic signal because it did not meet any of the 8 traffic warrants that you need to justify a signalized intersection.
Could you share also how much that would have been to replace that electrical box and maintain it each year?
Right now, the proposed estimate for that traffic signal cabinet was somewhere in the neighborhood of around $60,000. And we anticipate, I think that might be a touch low once we got through designing that, but that was the estimate at this point. And we looked at and tried to estimate what the maintenance of that signal would be, and we think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $3,000 a year to maintain that traffic signal.
And the last question I would have concerning this, over this past at least 2 years, other than commissioners being involved with the public process, with our crayons in this room filled with people with their ideas, what has the commission asked you to do anything on all of this? Hasn't this all been community and survey led? The direction that this is going is 100% citizen driven. The commission hasn't been involved in making any of those other than approving the surveys and the citizen-led comments.
As far as I'm aware, it's been 100% citizen and business owner driven to revitalize downtown.
Okay, and that's kind of just for everybody's information, because it goes so long, people could think that the commissioners just want to do this thing and it's us three and we're running this thing, and so basically it is 100% public oriented volunteer people that have submitted to surveys, and then we take that and we base that against a consultant's opinion, and that's the information you have given us.
Yes.
Our decision will be the final decision, but it's based upon the volunteer activism and involvement and studies by people who are the professionals that study that.
And as I mentioned last week, the public outreach, especially over the last month, has been extensive, ranging from online surveys to door-to-door visits with downtown business owners. We have had multiple radio spots, social media, and also within our local newspaper. So the outreach has been extensive, and we have gotten a large amount of feedback, especially through the survey. We had 355 posts on that commented and gave their opinion. So the outreach has been great, and the feedback from citizens have been wonderful.
What do you think is the issue? Is it just because there's always been a light there, people think that there needs to be a light? Because there's not one at 3rd and there's not one at 5th, but is it, where is this coming from the people that are saying, I'm really distraught that there's a light gone?
I can't speak to what they're thinking of, Commissioner McDowell, but the thing I guess that we're looking at from the staff level is that intersection is no different than any of the other intersections downtown that are not signalized, other than 1st and 7th that are. That intersection is no different than any of the others, and actually from doing the traffic survey, the pedestrian counts, it looks like 3rd Street is actually the busiest intersection that we have downtown. It's not necessarily 4th Street. It looks like it is actually 3rd Street, moving towards those movements towards the post office. So, yeah, as far as looking at it from what people are thinking, I do not know, but it is no different than any other intersection downtown.
Okay, now we're going to have public comment on it, so let's take things in order. Okay, thank you for that, little bit
You're
of
welcome.
history on where we are
Yes,
today.
thank you.
I cut you short on, were you going to talk more than what you just said about this?
I do not have any other additional information for you this week other than what we shared last week.
Right, and Commissioner Moore has a question.
Sure.
Well, I don't really have a question, but I have a clarification about the very beginning of this process. It was more than just the small committee that has been meeting regularly. There were a number, I don't remember the exact number, but upwards of 100 people at least that participated in the walking studies and in the workshops that form the basis of the report that we use to make recommendations from. So there has been, even from the beginning, a lot of public involvement.
And at this point, I would invite anybody that wants to speak about this issue to just come up and state your name for the record. Is that
You have a letter that was requested that we read into the record.
okay? Well, this lady had her hand up, so I'm going to let her go first, and then we can read that letter.
I do not have a card from her.
Hi.
What card for that? So do we want cards filled out for these?
Shall I fill it out now?
Sure. And in the meantime, we could read the letter.
Okay, all right, that's good. Oh, this is kind of winging it a little bit, but let's do that as Robert Rules is our guide here. So at the moment, we're going to have a letter read into the record at this time.
This is a letter from the Mason County Forest Festival Association. Dear City of Shelton Commission, we would like to express some praise as well as some concerns for the Railroad Avenue Road Diet. First, thank you for taking the time and testing some different options. We appreciate the city's support in not using boulevards or snakes down the middle of the road to allow our parade as well as events to function properly and safely. MCFFA is very excited to see a beautiful, vibrant downtown, especially when thousands arrive each year for the Forest Festival and the Paul Bunyan Grand Parade. Our hope as the city staff works to finalize a plan for Railroad Avenue is that the center lane remain flat without raised curbs, islands, or lowered gutters. Most may think the main concern for the parade function is the floats and vehicles. However, remember too, the marching bands and those on foot. Uneven ground could be unsafe. Another concern raised after a few comments from city staff is the rumor of removing the parades from downtown altogether. It's a statement that has been heard more than once recently, and MCFFA would like to respectfully ask that this idea be put to rest. Parades belong in the heart of the city. It's downtown. Forest Festival is 73 years old this year. 73 years of Paul Bunyan Grand Parade on Railroad Avenue. It's home. It's where we belong. Thank you for your time and consideration. We look forward to many festivals and a lot more fun in downtown Shelton. Sincerely, MCFFA Board. Amy Cooper, President. Mick Sprofsky, Vice President. Judy Bidwell, Treasurer, and Cheryl Erdsley, Secretary.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll have a comment on this card. Just state your name for the record, please.
Hi, Annette Matriciano. I just wanted to comment on the traffic light that has now been covered up and not functioning, and just give you my opinion that I really feel that it should be repaired and maintained. When I was working downtown and I would leave, and we get, as everybody knows, a lot of rain and it gets dark early in the winter, and I am a very careful, cautious driver, and I can't tell you the number of times where it's been really alarming, you know, when the rain's hammering at your automobile and you literally can't actually see clearly out of your side windows. And I just almost pulled out into traffic and got nailed. And I just feel that the 7 blocks is a bit too far, because I make an effort now, no matter what the weather, I make an effort to go to a light at 1st and 7th, because I know I have a clear shot. I can see that no matter what the weather is, I can see that light. So just for safety's sake, for pedestrians as well as traffic crossing across Railroad, I would like to see the light repaired and maintained. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
And we have Forrest Cooper.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commission. Mayor, I'm Forrest Cooper, 409 West Railroad Avenue. I had the pleasure of working with the Downtown Visioning Committee throughout the entire process. However, my comments today are of my own. I would like to offer my support to the city for the proposed design of Railroad Avenue Street Diet. The chosen design reflects the standard street diet model that has been implemented in cities all around the country. The changes should satisfy many of the concerns brought forth from the public during the demonstration period. Besides the addition of a bike lane and limited use of yellow paint, the only suggestion I would like to make to the road diet at this point is with the proposed changes to the parallel parking spaces. The proposed parking configuration, as it's been presented to the Commission, will eliminate the painted buffer boxes and enlarge the spaces. Although the spaces might be larger, the available space to move in and out will be reduced significantly. This will be a considerable downgrade for the parking from 1st to 5th and will make it more difficult for drivers within our downtown shopping area. What we currently have is considered paired parallel parking, and although it might seem the parking space itself is smaller, the overall maneuverability is much greater. To give you an idea, on the 400 block in front of our building, the parking space is 18 feet long with a 10-foot long buffer or cube. According to the Federal Highway Administration, the suggested size for this type of parking is a 20-foot length with a 6-foot buffer, comparable to what we have. That's a total maneuverability potential of 26 feet to 28 feet. By eliminating the buffer and making the space 22 feet, as suggested by staff, there is a potential loss of 4 to 6 feet of maneuverable space. The pairing of parked cars serves many purposes, including organization of the randomness of parallel parking. It creates ease of locating an available spot quickly, allows rear loading of items into parked cars without being blocked in. It creates larger vehicle accommodations, in addition to many others. Both paired and non-paired parallel parking considerations are discussed in the Federal Highway Administration's 72-page Road Diet Informational Guide, as which I have provided you with a page from today. It states, consider paired parking to reduce conflicts and delays with vehicle parking. Commissioners, please retain the paired parallel parking. It works well. If the cost and labor of painting the boxes is the concern, please consider some options, including the absence of paint within the buffer zones altogether. I've provided you with the illustration of some ideas. One last note, if at all possible, painting all crosswalks red at the intersections from 1st to 7th would be a wonderful way to complete this phase of the project. And to the staff that's been working on this, I applaud you guys. You've done an awesome job. Craig and the guys have gotten out there and spoke door to door with everybody down there, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Any more questions or comments from the commission?
I would just like to say that despite, it's been interesting that it has been a cooperative effort as far as the committee that has done this. And I have to say that, honestly, I like the back-end angle parking, but I was not in the majority, so I guess we're looking at that going away. So it truly has been a community effort, and I've been really happy to participate with that. So, thank you.
It's been quite the discussion.
Yes, and
Over dinner, over lunch, over whatever, over a glass of wine.
Yes.
It's been really good, a good discussion. I don't think we've discussed a project in length as we have this one. And I appreciate listening to people that don't like it, the people that do like it, the people that want it, the people that don't want it. So it's a good thing.
I told this story last week, but I'll just tell it again. I had a conversation with a local businessman. It wasn't Forrest Cooper, but and I was sitting there, and he was talking, and I was talking. And he wanted me to do this and that, and I says, "Here's the deal. Let's just you and me. Let's figure out what we want to do. Okay, we'll just you and I. Railroads are our deal, and you and I will just do what we want to do, and we will just forget the 99.9% of the other people, and we'll just do what we want to do." And he looked kind of shocked at me, and I said, because if you get 70% of the people in favor of an idea, that's a landslide, okay? It doesn't mean the 30% were wrong. Hear me very clearly on this. We all have an opinion. We all have a right to speak. We all have a part to play in this. but this has been talked about and worked about and studied and surveyed and resurveyed to where we got that 70%. And I am in favor of moving forward at this time with this issue. And I basically didn't care about probably any of it. I mean, I want the city to do what the city wants to do. I want it to work out nice. It looks good to me. I think we're moving in the right direction. But it is time to make a decision. And so at this time, what I would do is request a motion and set a public hearing for May 22nd, 2017. So I believe that's, you had
I
something
just
else?
have a question.
Sure.
Before we do that. So I'm unclear about this. So when we move forward with this, we're still going to be nailing down some of the final details later, right?
That is correct. I think that's important.
So it's still up for discussion. We're just at this point looking to approve the railroad diet expansion and revision of the project. And so we're not voting on the final product right now. Is that true?
I think that's true over an extended period of time. This is something that we are just wanting to expand
Okay.
on the road diet, but it will be something that we will have to look at again before we do a full restoration project for the downtown area, including Railroad Avenue. We're looking at a larger project, somewhere in the 3 to 5 year range, that would go from First Street out to 101. So we would look at that and tweak that to get the final product at that sometime between now and then.
So what we are voting on today is
Those points.
is the alternatives, these elements right here. We are voting to move forward with those, but
What you're really voting on, Commissioner Moore, is the picture that we provided you. We tried to list all of those in there, but that picture, that illustration shows all of the modifications or upgrades to Railroad Avenue, including the elimination of the back and angled parking, going to the pushing it back to the curb, eliminating the yellow boxes, painting the intersections on Railroad Avenue.
I had one question that there has been some discussion, and we've talked about the red paint on the east-west intersections, going from east to west. Is that a potential thing that we could incorporate into this, or is that something that we can discuss as we're bringing these things forward?
You're talking the crosswalks east-west on Railroad Avenue? We are proposing to paint all of them between 1st and at least 7th.
But the drawing just shows the ones that are going across Railroad. They're not showing the ones crossing the side streets.
So you're talking the ones on the numbered streets up and
Yeah.
down. At this point, we don't have the budget to paint those ones.
Okay.
So we can certainly look at that if the commission gives us direction to take a look at finding funding to do that. We can certainly take a look at that, but this is about $5,000 over budget at this point, just to do the expansion or the improvements that we have proposed, because originally we had $15,000 for the traffic dot, and right now it looks like the estimate for this proposal is about $20,000. But we can absorb that within the operations budget at this point. So if the direction would be to take a look at what the cost of that would be, we certainly could do that.
Do you guys understand?
Yes, I
what
do.
you're
So
talking
have all
about?
the crosswalks, north, south, east, and west, all in red.
Yeah.
Which we don't have the budget for now.
But we could do it later.
Well, you
Maybe.
can do it every year forever is what we can do. I mean, but we're just looking at just a straight shot right now.
Just
It's not
wrap it
that,
up.
that's not a good idea, or we can do them next year, I guess.
You could certainly do them next year. We will have some maintenance on these in the future, so the street budget is a general fund budget that does not have a lot of money in it. So if we want to take a look at that, that will probably be something that we will ask of the commission to approve for next year's budget, unless we get direction from the commission to take a look at how to get that done for this
Right.
year.
So the decision right now that we're faced is if two of these commissioners want to do those side street sidewalks now,
Crosswalks.
we can make an amendment to this,
That is true.
and we can choose to do that. Or we can choose to just follow the prescribed order here, and that's not at this time. Not a bad idea, not something we can do next year, but it's our decision, do we want to add that at this time? And the budget for adding all those was?
We don't have a
We don't
budget
do it?
for that at this
Right.
point.
No, I mean, a guesstimation, because if we were doing it now, we probably would want to say, is it going to be another 5,000? Is it going to be 20,000?
Conservatively, I think you're probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,000 to $8,000 to do the side streets.
And then more maintenance every year, a little more maintenance every year than normal, right?
Slightly more maintenance
Okay.
on those.
So that's the decision commissioners have to make.
7 to 8,000, not 78.
$7,000 to $8,000.
So there's
that
been
is a-
some talking, some citizens have been talking about the side going, not across Railroad, but the other way.
On the numbered streets.
Doing some artwork, some trees, painting them white and then doing trees or fish or something that has to do with our community on those side crosswalks. That would be a possibility of getting some artists in on those projects and doing, not all the side streets, but some of them with artwork?
That's not likely,
Okay.
Commissioner McDowell, simply for the reason we can't put regular paint in the crosswalks. It has to be a non-slip paint,
Oh,
and that non-slip paint only comes in certain colors, and the application of it is fairly labor-intensive. I'm not sure that you would be able to do
okay.
much artwork with
Okay.
the non-slip paint,
All
which
right.
would need to go within the fill of the crosswalk.
Sure, yeah, okay. Just asked.
Sure.
People were asking
So
about that.
back to the motion and the amendment, if we chose to do that, we are deciding if we want to spend another unbudgeted $7,000 to $8,000 at this time, while you're doing all of the other sidewalks, at this time, do we want to do that?
And if
At
I
this
can
time.
just reiterate, we're about 5,000 over budget just with the proposed changes
Right.
that we have right now.
Right, so, and we just have an emergency pump issue that's coming up, which is talking about possible hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, that's on the next page coming up. So, my feelings are we should approve this, and with the next ideas is to do that hopefully maybe next year. And I'm not against the idea, but at this moment, I am not probably in favor of budgeting 78,000 more than already over the 5,000. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I would probably say wait, not a necessity. Get the Railroad Avenue ones done. Cross streets maybe later.
Okay, so that's where I'm leaning.
I don't know.
But
I think it'd look great. I really do.
Okay, so
Well,
Commissioner
and I
Moore.
guess that my feeling on that is I realize we're over budget, and I realize that an additional possibly $8,000 is what we were not intending to do. But I also consider the actual value of it, and would Railroad Avenue as a whole, would that additional make that difference? That would make it really
Pop.
Exactly,
Pop's
pop.
the word.
So, as we're investing the money, I guess, I understand it would be a
We have more people
stretch.
from the public who'd like to talk about this, and I'd be happy if you want to come in, and if you filled out the card, if you want to add comments, I'll let this happen again. So, but you can't, we don't do from there. You have to come, state your name, and speak from that podium. If you want to comment, you can do that. We welcome that at this time about this issue. So, I'm opening this up for any public comment. If you want to speak, you have to make sure the card's filled out, and you can go and you can speak.
So,
Our policy is what our policy is. But we'll waive our policy at the moment and have staff explain what a double box is.
I do have a question, back to the painted side, crosswalks. Is it cheaper to do it,
Pardon me.
I'm sorry.
Pardon me.
I'm sorry.
I was in the middle of something.
I'm
with
sorry.
this. Yeah,
Excuse me.
You gotta wait for
Okay.
a second, because I've got 5 things going on. What I
Okay.
did is threw the policy out, and it was a simple question. I'm trying to kind of do
Yeah,
that.
right.
So at the moment, let's just relax a little. Let's explain what the box thing
Okay.
is, okay, first, and then we'll come to you.
thank you.
Okay.
I'm not sure I can answer that because I'm not sure I know
The
what.
double box, I think her question was, what's a double box? I think it's the painted.
The double parallel parking that Mr. Cooper was speaking of? Is that the question? Because we don't have any double boxes on Railroad. So I'm not sure.
We don't know on that one. Okay, so, you had a question? Did you want to enter that in at this time? Go ahead. We're going to waive our policy and listen to that at the moment.
This came from King County, of course, and the mayor of Seattle, he's wanted to paint a big Beacon Hill, and all the crosswalks were different colors, and the state came out, Auburn wanted to make a lot of colored sidewalks also, or crosswalks. And the state recognizes 2 colors for crosswalks, yellow and white.
Right.
And that's it.
And whatever we do will be legal, so,
It won't be legal. And
Well-
like they said,
Right.
they said, somebody gets killed,
Yeah.
you better start, get the printing press out.
yes. And what I'm doing is I'm going to explain to you that whatever we do, we will do legal. So let's just address this question and no more questions other than what's filled out on the form and from that podium. So let's answer that last question, please. He's talking in terms of whatever you paint our sidewalks, he has an issue, it's only white or yellow. I believe that's the outside lines, not the interior.
That is correct.
Okay, so whatever we do will be legal, okay? All right, now, any other public comments about this issue, I will accept, but someone's got to fill the card out, and then they got their 3 minutes. So if there's, you want to do that?
Just a quick clarification.
No, I don't even want to do that one anymore. Because I bring, listen, hey, I'm chairing the meeting. I want you, if you got your card, then you got to come up, do that, because we don't, this is not commission-led by casual comments. Go ahead.
I totally admire and appreciate process. We got to have that. The clarification, I was really involved actually directly with the painting of the crosswalks red. I did a lot of discussion to make that happen. We found out through Federal Highway that Railroad Avenue is a federal aid route. It receives federal funding for its maintenance because it connects 2 highways. So there were some stipulations that were brought up, or some concerns by previous Public Works that pertain to this. So we did a lot of research, and to answer your question, Kathy, I found out from Federal Highway that we cannot have any kind of artwork or anything in between the lines. It has to be a contrasting color of either burgundy, brick, or red.
But the side ones,
All of them, yeah.
All of them.
They're all on and adjacent and affected by that. So that was something, because
okay.
I asked specifically with Federal Highway about that to get some clarification, because these red crosswalks almost didn't happen because we had some previous staff that were pretty much assured that we couldn't have red, where historic towns all over the city have been modifying to it. So just want to clear that.
Okay, now, as chair of this meeting, I'm going to try and ask everybody, please refrain on following the proper order of the meeting. So we're going to back to Public Works, and I'll take full blame for letting this thing kind of wing out. But we're going to Public Works, and we had a discussion, a good discussion amongst commissioners. What do we want to do? I don't think the 7,000 or 8,000 is going to kill us, but based upon what I heard about pumps this morning, I think it weighs heavily on my choosing not to go with the sidewalks at this time. That's my opinion. Commissioner McDowell had an opinion, Tracy Moore.
I was
Commissioner-
in-
yeah, had
yes.
opinion, and you were talking, and I
Yes,
probably
I was.
cut you off to try
Yes, you
and
did.
field these comments out here in the general media or people. So, back to you, you can
Okay.
have the floor.
Okay, so I would definitely like to consider the crosswalks on the side street, because I think that the value can't be measured only in dollars at this point. And I understand we have another thing we're going to be discussing, but this is this discussion. So I would prefer to look for the money to attempt to do the crosswalks along the numbered streets as well.
Just a quick clarification, you are talking about two separate budgets. One would be general fund driven.
Yes.
The other one would be a utility driven expenditure.
Yes.
Just a clarification.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have that point, we have my point. At this moment, I believe we ought to just do the plan, and there will be next year to talk about the sidewalks. So that is the 2 points we have at the moment. Commissioner McDowell?
I just have a real simple question. What would it cost to wait the following year? How much more would it cost to wait another year to do the side ones versus do them all at one time? There wouldn't be.
You would have just inflation, whatever the cost of inflation would be on the paint. I can't predict the future of what that paint would cost in the years to come, but I would guess that it would be slightly higher.
So can we come back to this after we hear the news about the pumps and decide if we have an extra $8,000?
Like I mentioned, you are talking about two different
separate,
funds.
Okay. Two separate ones, okay.
Yeah, if we don't spend the money on the crosswalks, it won't go towards the other. It's.
Yeah, okay, I got it. Understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're under the question and comment period about whether or not we go forward with the recommended motion. The recommended motion is to do the points that were listed in our briefing, which is eliminate the traffic signal at 4th and Railroad, eliminate back-end parking, eliminate painted curb extensions, expand the crosswalks from 1st to 7th, and add a center turn lane provided painted center islands with a 5-foot buffer lane. Those items are in this briefing, and we are either going to vote on those items or amend this to add on sidewalks on side streets. So, I have made my vote known. Commissioner Moore has made her request known. Then what I would say, do you want to amend this motion here, or do you want to go through with this motion here?
I would like to just clarify one thing before we do make
Sure.
a motion. One thing that is not listed on there that I want to make clear that it is in the proposal, it is on the drawing, would be the elimination of the yellow squares in between the parallel parking.
Okay.
So I would just like to make that clear so that we are not revisiting this later on, that that's not what we voted on. It is in the picture, it's just not listed within the expansion of the road.
Okay. It's up to you.
Well,
We
you
only have
may
three
as well
commissioners.
make
I
the
mean,
motion
there's only-
because you're going to
Are you
be
ready?
deciding.
Ready for this one?
Well, yeah, you can.
I move to approve the Railroad Avenue Diet Extension and Revision Project elements with the addition of the red crosswalks on the side streets. Is that a good motion?
Yes.
Maybe. Is that okay? Is that enough for you that we're going to add the $7,000 to $8,000? We're going to do the side streets at this time?
That is the decision of the commission. It's
Right,
not a
no.
decision of mine.
Right.
If
Is
you-
that a good motion?
I need to know.
It will work.
It will work.
I
It's an
second
amendment.
that motion.
It's an
Okay.
amendment to the motion. And you know what? This is exciting because this is democracy in action. I mean, it's exciting to me. Okay, so.
Motion.
So, she made the motion, and now we are going to vote on that motion, which is amended from
I
what's in our briefing.
seconded it, yes.
So we have a motion and a second. Okay, any further discussion? I'm going to try and say the 7,000 or 8,000, okay. But all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Gary Krantz is opposed. But the motion passes. Very good. Okay, now that ends that issue. We are on to the next issue. You're going to need more drawings, more information on that little amendment thing, I believe. Do you have it all in your head exactly what she?
Yes,
what
we are.
they did?
We are
Yes.
clear on
Clear?
what we are clear on what the
Okay.
commission is asking
Very
for.
good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to item number 6. Okay, and let me make sure I got, are we still on? Oh, we're back on, we're only on item number 5, so I hope people in for another couple hours. Boy, I'm kind of getting overloaded myself right now, but let's have Mr. Craig Gregory again talk to us about the resolution in item number 5.
We'll try to make these easier and less controversial moving forward.
You're not the controversy.
So a few weeks back, back on April 10th, we brought forward to you the proposal to surplus the roll-off truck out of the solid waste utility. We pulled that last week thinking that we were going to bring all of the solid waste equipment forward for surplus. But with looking further into that and needing a public hearing that was going to take some more time, and the amount of work that we had to do to inventory the rest of the solid waste utility assets, we are proposing to move forward with this. We do have a very attractive offer that is on the table to purchase our roll-off truck. So at this time, we would like to move forward with just this piece of equipment, and we will be bringing back later in the month actually it'll be in May, to surplus the rest of the solid waste equipment at that time.
Okay.
So at this point, we need a public hearing to do that. With any utility assets require a public hearing.
Okay, so at this point, if there's anybody from the public that would like to talk about this, this is the opportunity. If we don't see somebody come forward, then I would ask my fellow commissioners what they have to say about this. I could start. I was going to start the conversation.
Okay, you start. Excuse me.
All right. It's unfortunate that we purchased a roll-off truck that we never used. We thought we might use it, and I was one of the people that voted to buy it because I was pretty well sold that we were going to use it. But things happen in life, and if we are not needing this in the future, I believe selling those assets for money for the city is a good idea, and I think we'd be making the right decision to move forward with this. But it is unfortunate to purchase something, not use it, and then have to sell it. We don't do things like that anymore, okay, to the best of our ability. Okay?
Yeah, I am glad it's going to be going out to somebody that can use it and buy it from us instead of hanging on to it for no reason. So that's a good thing.
So it appears that we are concurred that we can probably move forward with this with a motion to approve this resolution and set a public hearing date. So, do we have a motion?
Yes. I move to approve and sign Resolution 1099-0317 and set the public hearing for May 22nd, 2017.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve this resolution and set a public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. Moving to item number 6. And you're still up there, okay? And this is going to be a second reading concerning a alley vacation process, vacating an alley. And so we've been through this several times, but you want to fill us in?
I do not have any additional information. We have talked about this for better than a month now. Had a public hearing and now a first reading, and it would be to vacate the alley between 7th and 8th and Harvard and Grant.
Okay, I think it's what we need to do, and I'm ready to move forward with this. Any other public, I dare ask the public if they had anything to say on this? I didn't get anybody stepping forward, so do we need more further comments or questions about this alley vacation? Okay, so I think at this point what I do is ask staff for a second reading of that, and then we would have a motion to approve, right? We have the second reading first. Please.
Certainly. Ordinance number 1896-0417, an ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington, vacating an alley.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
No, I'll make the motion.
Oh, wait, sorry.
I move to approve and sign ordinance 1896-0417, authorizing the alley vacation from 7th to 8th Street on Grant.
And setting a public hearing, Do we include that in the motion? Okay. All right. There's a motion, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. That Ally can go on a vacation. All right, now we are under the business agenda part of our meeting. And the first item is, oh, no, we're not. No, we're not. No, 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 no. Item number 7, the mystery item.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
don't we have the solid waste utility tax increase? Oh, okay,
Yes.
right.
Are we at
Right.
item number 7?
I do.
That's right, Logan's going to talk to us about this one. Our engineer. All right, this is that good news you had for us.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. We're facing a very serious problem at the Front Street sewer lift station. Downtown on Front Street, there's a lift station that pumps all the sewage generated from north of Goldsboro Creek. Goes through that lift station and it's pumped out to the wastewater treatment plant. There's 4 pumps in there, 120 horsepower each. Over the last 3 months, we've lost 3 of those pumps. They've been in place for about 9 years, so that's very unexpected. Because of this, we've had to take one of the pumps from the Neelan lift station over at Neelan Park, and just to have it as a precaution, so that we have 2 and 2. There's 3 originally at Neelan Park, so now there's 2 there. We have been working with APSCO, the company that the manufacturer. Also, PUD3 is working to monitor the power. They think that's a potential cause. And also consultants from Parametrics to make sure we pinpoint this problem so we don't put a pump back in and fry it again. The quote from ABSCO is $40,000 each to rebuild these. That was just for the first 2. They're still assessing the 3rd one. At this time, we're asking for approval to make that expenditure.
And I'll just speak forward. This is a time while you have reserves. This is a major deal, and I feel we got to jump on it like as fast as the ink will dry, because we cannot risk not having those pumps in reserve. And you are doing the right thing in trying to investigate and find out exactly what the cause of this is. And so my recommendation is that we immediately move and waiver the 3-touch rule. We approve these emergency purchases to repair 2 of these failed pumps from the Front Street sewer lift station, and allowing me to sign for that expenditure. We don't have a choice in this. We have to move forward on this very quickly. And as we're doing that, you gentlemen know you got a lot of people looking at what's going on here. And I trust that we will find out the answer and get more longevity out of these pumps. And I'm glad that we have reserves to pay for this kind of expenditure.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do we have reserves to pay for this kind of expenditure?
Yes, this can be absorbed, well, I shouldn't just say yes, but it can be absorbed into the budget right now. The budget may need to be amended later in the year. But as it sits, yeah, we can pay for all 3 of them.
Yes.
We're going to have to be very careful moving forward, though.
Yeah, you can only afford a few of these bumps in the road once or twice a year. So, my fellow commissioners, are you ready to move forward on this?
Yes.
Yeah, I just have one little question.
Sure.
So I know you said in here you don't have a clue why this happened.
Well, we have some clues. We don't have it pinpointed. One of the changes they're going to be making is they're going to be using ceramic insulated bearings. There's a thought that power fluctuations grounded on the bearing. All 3 of the pumps were lost due to bearing failure, which is pretty strange to lose all 3 that way after this many years.
So, oh, yeah. a little disheartening.
More educated people than our minds are looking at this seriously, and we appreciate that. Any other further questions or comments concerning this emergency request? So I think we just concur that I will sign this and we'll move this forward. You need a motion?
Okay, I will make the motion. I move to waive the three-touch rule and approve the emergency purchase to repair 2 of the failed pumps from the Front Street Sewer Lift Station by allowing the mayor to sign for the expenditure.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Motion and a second to approve the repair of these 2 pumps. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? It passes, so we can move forward on that. Thank you very much. Next is the business agenda. Is that correct? Are we ready for the business agenda? All right, and this is, again, Craig Gregory, you're back up. Someone needs to run out of the room and go ship those pumps over to where they need to be fixed, right?
They are already there.
They're already there, okay.
They have done some investigation on
Tell
them.
them to put
and
ceramic bearings this time.
That's what we are looking at.
All right, so you're going to talk to us about the solid waste utility tax increase.
That is correct, Mayor, Commissioners. Originally, when we brought the proposal forward for the solid waste contract with Mason County Garbage, we looked at a franchise fee to capture the funding that was coming to the city, originally through the solid waste utility. Through our legal team with the city of Shelton and looking at this at the staff level, we have come to the conclusion that the best route to move forward with that would be a utility tax increase, not the franchise fee that was originally proposed. It would not change the customer's bill whatsoever. They would not see that within their bill change at all. The utility tax would just take the place of what was originally called the franchise fee, and at this point it is just language that we are changing originally that you voted on to capture that funding out of the utility.
Okay, any questions or comments?
No.
This appears to be kind of like a good reason why we have lawyers, just to keep all of our terminologies correct. This is kind of a housekeeping kind of a thing, and I think that we want to move forward with this. Is that what the commission concurs?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to place this item on the action agenda for May 1st, 2017. Item number 2 is concerning the Land Street landfill grant amendment. And again, you, Craig Gregory, are going to present this to us.
So originally in 2015, we received a grant to do the remedial investigation that was in the amount of $215,000 with a 25% match from the city to do that study. That had a 2-year sunset on that. That date was June 30th of 2017. We are not going to meet that. So we have been working with Department of Ecology to extend that, and they have given us the green light to extend that to 2019, which should give us plenty of time to get through the remedial investigation by aspect. So all we are looking for on this proposal is to change the date on the original grant that was received by the city of Shelton in 2015.
Okay, just a little educational thing here. Okay, how are we going to be paying for the 25% match? 25% match is really good. We all committed to go forward with this, but had we set some money, have we budgeted or reserved any of this money for the 25% match?
That I'm not sure of, Mayor. I will have to check on that and get back to you next week on where that funding is coming from. I'm guessing, and I'm just guessing at this point, that is coming out of the general solid waste utility. But I will check on that just to make sure for you and get you an answer next week.
Yes. Okay.
It is my recollection that we discussed that a couple years ago when we raised the fees, that definitely the cleanup costs were to be part of that sewer raise.
The cleanup costs are not, that is one of the reasons why we moved forward with the contract with Mason County Garbage. Just as a reminder, that was one of the main reasons that we moved forward with the Mason County contract, is because the fees that were raised back then, that staff had told the commission that we were increasing to cover cleanup costs, have gone into the operational budget to keep that budget in the black. So those fees have gone to strictly operational.
But that was part of the reason, that was designated when we agreed to do the sewer rate increases. So, I mean, it didn't happen, correct, but that was part of our reasoning for that. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that we have made this commitment to move forward with this cleanup of this project. And so it isn't anything that
Nope,
we
we're gonna
can
move
do.
forward. Yes, we
There's
are.
nothing we can do to hurry it up at this point,
Nope.
but we are committed, remain committed to the cleanup.
And we are quite a ways into the
Yeah.
remedial investigation,
Right.
so they have actually given us a work plan at this point. So we are getting close to an end with that, so we should be getting some direction on how to actually clean up C Street, which is great.
Point of, yeah.
Just a point of clarification that we're actually talking about the solid waste utility and
Yes.
not sewer rates.
Did I say sewer? I didn't.
I just wanted to make clear.
Did
that
I say sewer?
I did not mean sewer, no. It
Solid
is
waste.
not the sewer, it is solid waste. Thank you for that clarification.
So, what is your recommendation then, that we place this on the, this utility tax increase on the action agenda for May 1st?
Just to concur to move
Okay.
it to the action
I
agenda for next
concur
week.
to do that,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
we do.
Yes.
Thank you very much. All
Thank
right.
you.
The third item on our business agenda is involving art and rotating art. So Mark Ziegler is our art gallery professional. He's going to come with some pictures.
No, we always like this.
New pictures.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. On behalf of the Shelton Arts Commission, I'm bringing you today recommendations for placement in the Civic Center Rotating Art Gallery. The Arts Commission called for submittals by artists by April 19th. 7 artists submitted their work. The Arts Commission juried on the 20th. And I'm bringing to you today 5 works from 5 artists. With your approval to be placed on the action agenda for May 1st commission meeting. The artists are Connie Simpson, Amanda DeSilver, Peggy Hosford, Sharon Brochet, and Julie Setson.
Well, they're all beautiful.
They
I love all
are
this.
So
beautiful.
it appears that you want us to concur. Is there any questions or comments other than they're beautiful?
No, I look forward to seeing them in person.
Yeah. So it looks like we concur to place this on the action agenda for May 1st. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mark,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. Well, that was a task.
Does it go this way or this way?
Oh, don't you know? It goes this way.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe you're right. I'm sure Mark will know how to hang that up, won't you, Mark?
You'll see when it's installed.
Yeah, oh, that'll be a surprise, right?
All right, administration reports. Oh, you're staying up there because you knew you would be called on. So it's now your opportunity to give us a report.
Thank you, Commissioners. So since I was last year in March, the final EIS, environmental impact statement for the comprehensive plan amendment will be published in early May. Staff will be visiting with the county's Plan Advisory Commission on May 15th, and we'll have the commission brief to you to follow that. But everything is moving ahead as planned. We should have the public notice out soon for the Phase 1 of Oakland Bay Restoration Project. That project application is under review with staff right now. We're working with the Salmon Enhancement Group for the permit process to place approximately 15 log jams at the mouth of Goldsboro Creek, and this is, again, the phase one of the Inner Harbor Goldsboro Creek Restoration Project. See future iterations of that restoration project down the road. Let's see, in Parks and Recreation, we're working on the summer program, so that should be out within the next couple weeks in May, preparing for school to get out with our usual programs, including sports camps and activities. And then in the building department, we completed interviews for a building official last week, so we'll have some announcements on that fairly soon to the commission on the results of that. Over the last month, we've had 27 permit applications filed with the city, 2 single-family residences and 1 duplex. The remainders include alterations, re-roofs, decks, mechanical, plumbing, things like that. One thing that we've had in place for a year now is fee reductions that came to you last year, and we've got a little bit of data from that. So that was instituted in April of last year, and the amount brought in from new fees from the entire reduction. So this was plan review fees, building permits, general facility charge for sewer and water, TIF, and reductions like that, was $379,055.69. Under the old rate structure, prior to the reduction, the revenue would have been $563,383.64.
Can you repeat that number again?
You bet. $563,383.64.
Okay.
A difference of $184,327.95.
But the point would be, if people would have built the same amount, knowing that the fees were, part of why people are building is because the fees were lowered. If we had gotten the same amount of permits, which we probably wouldn't have, because a lot of people aren't building and would not have been building and paying the higher fees. So how do you determine that factor?
Well, we conducted a survey May through December of 2016, so leading up to this year after the after the reductions were enacted. We surveyed a total of 161 people that came to the front counter and applied for permits. Of those 161, 43% or 70 of them said the fee reduction had no influence on their submitting for the permit. 18 or 11% said the fee reduction had some influence on the timing of their permit application. 8% or 14 overall said the fee reduction made the project feasible, so they were waiting or trying to get the finances together, and that brought them to the table. 10 or 6% said they didn't consider it without the fee reduction, so the fee reduction was a direct result of why they came in. And then 49 people or 30% said they didn't know that the fee reduction was even in place when they came in. So we just took that through the end of last year. I think that gave us a fair sample of the permits that came in and the data reached there.
The numbers are, you are seeing an increase in permit activity in this past year?
We've certainly seen an increase, absolutely. Yep.
Is that, I feel like as our economy is picking up, we're seeing permit activity escalating everywhere. I know definitely Olympia. Do we have any type of factors that we can compare with, like size communities that maybe we compared ourselves to before we reduced the fees?
I don't have anything at my disposal at this time. We could reach out and see if we can find that data somewhere.
And at this time, not naming any names, but has there been any large multifamily type activity just inquiring or going through pre-site plan review?
Certainly, yeah, we've had
Certainly. Okay.
several projects that have gone through
Several
pre-sub.
projects, okay. So it's kind of hard sometimes, you go, well, gee, we lost this, but we gained this, but these people said they wouldn't. So it's a little difficult. You got to kind of lay all the data out and kind of really kind of go through it. But yeah, it appears that the multifamily, well, the rental market is so hard right now. I mean, there's no vacancy, so I would assume that there's going to be quite a bit more rental kind of properties being built. I would think it'd be ripe for that. So, all right. Any other, does that conclude your report?
That's it for me today, yeah.
I would just like to add, so are we going to be looking at this? I mean, we had said last year we would maybe look at adjusting some of the fees going forward, and I don't know if we're ready
I have a
to
recommendation.
look at those.
I have a
or
recommendation on that, which might be good for all of us, is to go ahead and with Ryan Wheaton, our city manager, well, you're sitting in his place. I meant if he was here. Why don't you share your thoughts? I can share my thoughts. Commissioner McDowell can share those on about looking at if it's a time to raise fees and take his information, and maybe we can have a little staff time so we can kind of take a look at that and come up with a way to determine that. So I guess what would happen is we can go through our city manager on what we're thinking. I've been talking about it, on should we raise or not raise, how are we doing? This is the first time I've heard this information for like 4 months or so, or 3 months. So maybe we can work through our city manager on getting our heads on this. That's kind of how the process, would work. And so I think it's good to have the discussion, but I think it's probably trying to get, what information do you need from him? What information do you need from him? What do I need from you? And then you relay that to our boss, city manager, and then he can relay that to us and say, what are you thinking about this? So that we can then kind of come together with some options, I suppose. Is that?
That was going to be my suggestion, is that maybe we can get some more information as far as what that would look like as if we considered raising these fees. Are there any alternative methods we could consider to keep the interest coming in as far as building? I know there are some cities that are doing some really creative things, moving towards affordable housing and things that benefit the whole community.
I think we need to look at it.
That aren't necessarily fee reductions, but maybe some other incentives. And so, yes, I would be in favor of maybe a study session where we can discuss this moving forward.
Absolutely.
Well, I do believe that we will be bringing our fee schedule forward. We usually do that and adopt it in June. So these fees are they adopted through the fee schedule?
Yes.
So we could review that and timing for June.
Absolutely, and my request would be
Since
from
we're
you,
almost to May.
as Commissioner Morris kind of stated, I would like all the information you just said that we were trying to jot down. I wouldn't mind seeing the history of what we just did, and for example, this year or this 6-month period versus this 6-month period, and so we can kind of get a feel on what the fee reduction fee did. Like you got I would just like to see those numbers so that we can kind of say, okay, this impacted this percent. If we hadn't gotten this percent, so we have a little more, a little report, a little more information, because, and part of that information would be what is the building permit fees in Aberdeen and Port Orchard, maybe Centralia, like cities, 10,000 around. What is that? Because I think we were a lot higher at that point. So I think we need to look at that information to make a good decision on at what point we would increase fees. So that would be.
Well, I just had a comment from a person in the Olympia area, and we were talking about our fees being lowered, building fees being lowered. He says, well, now, since your city is picking up and the economy's kind of stepping forward and picking up, he asked if we were possibly going to revisit those fees and see which ones we still want to keep low, but which ones could we raise a little bit. So that was a good very respectful person that I was talking to and knew what he was talking about.
And my judgment would be based upon data-driven.
Yeah.
Because the data, there is a way to find out exactly what impact that had, and especially by the thing that you said, 10% or whatever, would not have done it at all had we not lowered it. A number of percent said that was a major factor in their determination. Those kinds of numbers is things that I think we need to look at to see if we
Definitely.
are going to raise those fees.
Well, I
So-
think that discussion is relevant now as well, since we will be hiring a new building official.
Absolutely.
And those fees
Yeah.
could prevent that cost from being taken out of the general fund.
Right, so we need the data to make
Yes,
what you call
exactly.
educated decision. Thank you for your report, it
Thank
went a
you.
little long
Appreciate
today.
Thank you very much.
All right, next we have our fire chief. Are you still awake? I'm awake. I told you, you should have came 2 hours after.
This has been very interesting, and I'll try to keep it brief anyway.
Okay.
Some data you have before you were about 1,555 calls total in our district. Of those, you can see that 80% of those are EMS calls. In the city, we're about 724. Some quick data for you, that's about 7 a day in the city and about 15 a day in the district. Pretty well stays pretty much consistent with that. We had a huge, very, very busy Saturday. Not only did we had already planned on a control burnout at Bay Shore, had already made plans that we were going to do that, and we had a house fire up on G Street. Just so happens it was not in the city. It was outside of the city, but in the UGA in District 11. Those folks did make it out fine. Minor injuries to all those folks. Was total loss, not insured. And so the Red Cross and some of their neighbors are giving them a helping hand with that. Looks to me like we're focusing on probable portable heater downstairs. I can't confirm or anything. We're still digging into that to look to see what the cause, but they were very lucky. Only one home, no injuries were used. We did use probably a pretty significant amount of water to put the fire out, and did use the hydrant system, worked very well. So that's kind of what we've done. And then we had our burn at Bay Shore, and that went very well. So 2 things we've been working with. Questions or comments?
Questions or comments?
Nope.
Okay.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have our police chief, Darren Moody. He's been a busy guy, he's been on media lately.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Just a real quick brief update. I know we're running on time. First and foremost, I have spaghetti feed tickets.
That's right.
Spaghetti feed tonight at 5 o'clock at the Transit Center to benefit the after-school program for kids. So if you need tickets, let me know. We can still get you in. We made a lieutenant promotion at the police department. Mike Fiola was promoted to lieutenant. He's going to come to next week's commission meeting in the evening hours to be sworn in as a lieutenant. We graduated Charles Taylor from the academy, who just started back with us last week. He was a reserve police officer. In that, we just sent Chris Downs to go fill his spot at the academy. So we're still catching up, but we're getting there, and they're doing well in the academy. Both of them, our last 2 graduates have done well, and we expect Chris to do the same. We'll see him again the end of July, beginning of August, back on the streets here. Code enforcement and animal control position, that will be taken over by the police department, and we have opened that position and closed it at the end of this week, and then we'll be doing interview and testing, at which point we'll have a person in place that will handle code enforcement through the city, animal control duties. In that, we have had a temporary person in that position for about the last 2 months, and just in that temporary time, he's captured somewhere in the neighborhood of 26 or 27 stray dogs running through the city. All of those dogs were either returned to owners or adopted out to proper families, and through Adopt a Pets partnership. He's also towed about 32 cars, or had cars either towed or complied with moving their cars out of the roadway if they're inoperable. So just
Wow.
that little significant 2-month period is a lot accomplished. And we anticipate that'll continue.
Good move.
Just to touch on one item, I know it's a topic, and the mayor brought it up briefly. We've had an alarming crime issue in the city of Shelton over the last few weeks that we've been discussing, specifically over the last 2 weeks. We had an intruder enter people's homes while they were home, and we've put out the press information on that. Shortly after we discovered it, our detectives started doing further investigation and were able to locate other calls that were not reported to law enforcement and were not reported to the Mason County Sheriff's Department. Some were reported, some were not. In that, we have 6 different incidences of people over the last 10 months having their homes entered by a subject who didn't take anything, didn't touch anything, didn't say anything, and left the resident when they were alert to the resident knowing they were there. All of them happened during the early morning hours. We would caution folks in the city of Shelton and the outlying areas to do a few things. One, lock your doors. All of these seem to be entered through means where they didn't force entry into a home, which indicates to us that it was easy access to get into the house. Most of them have said that the doors was left unlocked in the evening hours after they went to bed. In addition to that, pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to what's going on around you. Call in suspicious activity outside and inside your residence. And by all means, if somebody enters your residence, please call 911 and call us and let us do some further investigation. Right now, we're partnering with Mason County Sheriff's Department because there were some of these in the county. So we've already met, put a team together, and they are investigating these incidences, and they're moving forward on it. Thank you.
Do we assume that all of these cases are the same person?
At this point, their similarities would indicate that it's probably the same.
And they said on the news last night, I saw Mason County, so did you have some inside the city limits of Shelton?
Some inside the city limits, some outside.
Okay. Any other questions for our chief? Thank you very much,
Thank you.
sir. All right, I don't see Shelby.
Shelby Conklin is not here today, but I do believe that we have a written report which we will get to you.
Okay.
As soon as possible.
All right, we thank you very much for that. All right, and I'm looking forward to a very lengthy administration report from our pro tem city manager today.
I have no report, but I do have a touch.
You have a touch,
I
okay?
have a touch. I will be bringing forward a contract for public defender services. We had an RFP out for that. It closed, and we will be bringing a proposal forward to you next week for that. Any other touches? I guess not.
Okay, our next meeting will be on Monday, May 1st at 6 p.m. in the evening. This meeting is adjourned. Just before the 2-hour cutoff time.
Felt like it last week.